This is our Forex blog for August 8th, 2013, and I'd like to show some of our easier trading methods. These are our currency indexes, and I'm showing the top 4 currencies, but they work on all 8. The Swiss, CAD, Australian, and New Zealand are not shown here. And this just gives you a wealth of information that's very easy to see at a glance. For instance, the dollar is trending down, as you can clearly see. You can spot trend line breaks, on a currency, and when it breaks, it's likely to reverse in the other direction. You got flag pattern reversals. You can see when a currency is making the lower lows for the day, and you can also see if it's above or below its previous day's high or low. The hourly moving average here in gray. Below that, it's weak. Above it, it's strong. And basically, you want to be selling the weakest currencies versus the strong. You can see the pound also is trending down. However, its daily, weekly, monthly trend is pretty much up. So when it broke that trend line here at 4, it's a pretty high probability to buy that versus whatever's weakest at the time. So let's scroll back and take a look at that time of the day when this approximately broke the trend line or is coming up to it right here. You can see the euro already made a big move up. It's at resistance. It's likely to come down. The dollar also was very weak all day, and it's gone up. It's very close to its hourly moving average and likely to go down. So you could basically look for euro pound sells coming up to 4 or buys in pound dollar. So let's just bring up the euro pound coming up to 4. This is one that's very likely to go down, and you can see that's exactly what happened when the pound broke out and the euro was already at a reversal area and already had gone up too much. You can see it fell. It's only about 12 pips, but the euro pound, you make about double what you do in the euro dollar per pip. So that's a pretty decent move. And let's take a look at the pound dollar coming up to 4. You can see the exact opposite. The dollar obviously started to trend the other way, and the pound took off because the pound's longer term trend was quite strong. And whether you got into it, before this breakout bar or after here, you can see it shot up about 15 pips, and then it kind of went sideways for a while and broke out later. You can see the real move was at 8:30 and 10 later today. Let's scroll forward and take a look at that. And by the way, this is the point of control. It's where most traders have positions in all pound pairs the previous day. And it tends to act as support and resistance when price comes up to it from underneath. Anytime you see this area get broken, for instance in the yen, it's a very bullish sign when it breaks out over this high right here at around 115. It's very likely to go up at least to the hourly moving average. And you'll see that these things happen over and over and over again. But let's take a look at what happens here. Until it breaks out above its hourly right here at 10. That's one of the better times to be getting in. And you want to, of these 4 pairs, one of the weakest ones on the chart is the dollar. So let's take a look at that. Coming up to 10, you can see it shot up about 50 pips. And that's how you use this. The yen also, like I said, broke out earlier today. And at that time, all 3 of the other ones are weak. However, if you look at the longer term trend, the dollar is the weakest. If you look for dollar yen sells at 1, you're going to have a very high probability trade of it going down. That's exactly what happens. And what's nice about this, you can see the little low here, it broke down, kind of made a little bit of a pullback. If you missed the first trade, you can get in here. The dollar yen frequently, a lot of times the dollar and yen trade in the same direction. Or the volatility is not that much, so you can see this fell 40 pips. That's a pretty big move for the dollar yen for one swing. Let's put up some other charts on here. We know the dollar was weak and the yen was strong. So let's take a look at some other currencies. Oops, I scrolled back too far. We'll take a look at see what the Swiss did. And by the way, these currency indexes, now that we build them into the software, work on all time frames. You can see that this one was in the downtrend today. Notice how the point of control acted as support. Once it broke that, 9 o'clock is a very high probability place for this to be going down. But let's take a look at the Australian and New Zealand and the CAD as well. Alright, you can see the Australian was quite strong today and made a really nice about 2.5 hour pullback right to the hourly moving average. Very high probability place to find support. You can see how strong the trend was statistically. The daily trend's up, the weekly trend shifted up, monthly trend's still down. But at 4, this is a very high probability place to buy, and you can see the dollar was trending down and it's right underneath resistance. It's very likely to stall here and go down. You can see how weak that is. So at 4 o'clock, it's pretty much a no-brainer Australian dollar buy. And you can also see the CAD was weak today, and at 4 o'clock it also went back up here. So what do you do at 4 o'clock? You buy the Australian dollar or the Australian CAD. Very high probability, and I don't think, especially for new traders, there's any method of trading out there that's going to be as easy to do as this. So here's 4 o'clock, just as predicted. The Australian did reverse and continued its uptrend. The dollar continued its downtrend, and you can see it went up for about 9 hours. And here's some of the trades I would consider as high probability. This one right here, little rectangle breakout, especially when it's underneath the lows. A lot of times it'll fail here, but sometimes it explodes up, so at least you have a chance to make 5 or 6 pips here. This pullback right here, since it never broke these lows, this little pullback right here and flag pattern, very high probability, and this trade right here. Usually after 11:30, it's a little bit lower odds trade, but you can see every one of those trades worked. The first one, and you might have got out of the first trade with a small profit when it went sideways right here. This is another, decent trade as well. Good for, so you might have made 10 pips, 20, 5, 15 or 20, 30, 20. Now let's take a look at the Australian CAD. Remember, from 4 onward, we're basically looking to buy, and you can see also this had a very nice pullback, and there's 2 entries right here. This one went sideways for so long, I'm not sure if I would have bought this pullback, but right here, and this last pullback right here. So there's some small wins in here. You can see the CAD did reverse down at 4, and it made slightly lower lows. Again, at 7 right here, it's very likely to reverse. But then it went from underneath to above its hourly moving average. Now, for new traders that don't really want to learn how to trade, you can also just use our upcoming signals, which are very high probability signals. And this is still in development. I'm trading these and have automated trading systems that trade some of these patterns. Still tweaking. There's 47 different very rare patterns that happen, and one pattern might not trigger for 2 or 3 weeks. Another one might give 3 signals per week. Some of them are more frequent than others, but the combined total of all the different methods lets you see exactly when to buy and sell. And obviously, when you use the currency index in addition to this, which I'm not even doing right now, that should improve its accuracy even more. You can see this buy signal right here led to a nice little 20+ pip move. This one here continued down. This signal here obviously failed. You would have lost 5 pips. This one right here, led to a very big win. Let's just illustrate the loss versus the wins. This one's a loss. This trade right here really probably would have had a small loss, small win. And usually I'm not trading after noon. However, I do keep the signals in there just to see how they work during the dead times. I'm keeping stats of each signal and improving them over time. And I'm always adding new signals to this. The one I added today uses our 3-line break code, which we enhanced. A lot of times, right after a flip from uptrend to downtrend or downtrend to uptrend, you will get a very tiny pullback, and that's a very decent place to be buying. You can see it went from a downtrend right to an uptrend, followed by a 2-bar pullback. These don't happen that often, but they very, very high winning rate. And without the 3-line break on here, you would probably not even consider for a second that is a trade that you would want to take. However, it was the best trade of the day. It went up 30 or 40 pips. So again, these signals are going to be very helpful for people who want who don't know how to trade. Now you combine these with support resistance, and in other words, if there's support right here and the next resistance area is 20-30 pips away, this is a higher probability trade. If there's resistance right here, you might want to kind of wait for, see how it handles the resistance. If it breaks through the resistance, then buy. You know, so you can you can use discretion to trade these signals. And the final product is not going to have a number on it. This is just to let me know if I see a slew of trades that are giving false signals. There's two number 33s today, for instance. This one really didn't generate much, and this one just happened. So, you know, we're down maybe 2 pips in it. We'll see how that one works out. It's also during a dead time, but it helps me debug the system signals.